I am the pastor of Living Word Lutheran Church in Moses Lake, Washington. So, sole pastor there. I was ordained on July 10th, 2010, and I enrolled at ILT in September of 2010 because I'd been ordained. So, I have a kind of a unique route to the ministry because the congregation, we were a breakaway group from the LCA and got to the point where it was time to call a pastor, and we were debating about it, and somebody said, well, Lou, if we called you, what would you do it? And I said, if you called me, I couldn't say no. So they called me, and I was examined in front of the congregation and then ordained within a month or so. And then I decided, well, maybe I better get some education. So I enrolled at ILT in the MDiv program that fall. Started immediately taking Greek. So here I am. Been a student ever since. I've been part of the, helping to put ILT together, I guess, from the get-go with Dennis, and been a strong supporter of it from the word go, and it's the only way I could do it. I also farm, and so I'm deeply embedded in my congregation, in my home business, my family, and everything else, and so the distance education was the logical way for me to approach this, and and that's ILT's program, and these were friends of mine from way before, when ILT was just a thought for Dennis and the Word Alone movement. So that's the only way I could do it. I have sermons to deliver every week to my congregation, and my congregation called me because they wanted an in-place pastor, and then with my family and business, I've been a farmer all my life, and my son and nephew have taken over the farm operations, but I'm still deeply involved in that. So I'm bivocational that way. It's been a very freeing thing for our family that I can work as time allows on the farm, but I'm totally free to take care of my responsibilities as a pastor and to be a student at ILT. So lots of flexibility there that you wouldn't get if you had to go through a residential process, and it my congregation enjoys that. The fact that I'm there, they know immediately what classes I'm taking in the fall, and it starts to show up in the teaching in the congregation, and they're benefiting from me being a student at ILT directly. So it's just a really good way to go, I think. Access to great instructors with that have the knowledge base and everything else that and then in a platform manner that we can do it that without completely disrupting our lives in terms of family life and vocational life, and being embedded in a congregation. That knowledge gets taken out into a congregation through the person who's both a student and a member of a congregation. So I think it's a blessing for the congregation. Like I say, my congregation consistently appreciates it and notices progress in my preaching and teaching. So anyway, I have a number of them. I really enjoy Dr. Hilmer. I was approached the language issue. I'm 60 years old, and to start an MDiv program at the age of 57 or whatever it was, I was scared to death of taking Greek, and Dr. Hilmer didn't teach Greek, but I had Tim Reinerson for Greek, and he's another one of my favorite instructors, and I just found I really enjoyed that. But then when I got to Dr. Hilmer, and he brings the Greek, he brings the Hebrew and a lifetime of Hebrew study to his knowledge of the Old Testament, and it's just, you just want to sit there and soak in it when you're in his presence. And he's just a jolly good fellow to listen to. So I really enjoy Dr. Hilmer. Tim Reinerson is a great pastor, and brings a great pastoral sense to his teaching. Guy that, his knowledge of the Greek and the ability to deal in the New Testament is just mind-boggling. Dr. Leoy is very precise. Taken a course from him. I don't know, I haven't had a bad instructor. I took a course from Dr. Yago, who's now on the faculty. He's a very brilliant mind in his own way. It's interesting that people are different, and you run across different teaching styles and everything else. Dr. Bielfeld has got to be one of the absolute most intelligent men I've ever run into. Sometimes he leaves me behind, and I find very few people that do that, but his brilliance and his vocabulary sometimes gets a little ahead of me, but you can't be in his presence without learning something. So.
If you were to talk to someone who was considering a seminary like ILT, what would you say to them?
I would tell them, enroll in a class and see how it works, because it was the right thing for me, but I'm not going to say it's the right thing for everybody. But in my situation, it fit my needs perfectly, and it fits my congregational needs perfectly. And the way ILT can structure courses, the class size is small. You get good interaction with your instructor, and the platform we use with the computer and everything, we have good interaction with our fellow students. There's opportunities to travel if you can afford those kind of things. I know it's not possible for everybody with work schedules and everything else to travel to education events where you can be with your fellow students, but there is a camaraderie that develops among students, and we know each other's personalities, and we can joke about it among ourselves, and there's a collegiality that develops that's healthy and positive and important. I think all these aspects are good aspects for ILT, and the only way to really get into it is to experience it. And it's, the expense, since we're doing this online, it's not residential. You don't have to, uproot your family and go to all kinds of, problems with jobs and all sorts of things. The flexibility is just so much better. I couldn't have done it any other way. So, I will recommend ILT to anybody at that point. So.
Okay. You mentioned that there's sort of a collegiality amongst the students.
Yes, there certainly is. We can joke with each other, and we like any educational institution, you talk about your instructors, their quirkiness or habits they have, and when we do get a chance to get together, we can. There is a special bond there that we are all ILT students. In the classroom with the chat functions and the classes, it's not all just lecture from the instructor and the rest of us are just sitting there listening. I mean, it's interactive, and there'll be questions, there'll be arguments that develop among students that that the instructor sometimes says, "Hey, wait a minute, we're supposed to be," but the platform lends itself to interaction among students. So there's that happens, and then and if you do get a chance to actually meet somebody, I discovered we're at a meeting, a grouping of students here in Omaha while this is being taped, and I discovered one student that his presence on the camera, he turns out to be shorter than I thought he was, and he told me I was taller than he thought I was. So I mean, you actually get to meet people, and and then you have a bond that you can start, and you have relationships that will last. So it's very positive. My experience at ILT is an ongoing one that I've told various people that you'll probably have to remove my dead cold hand from the mouse on the computer screen, because I'll probably have a heart attack and die at the computer. But I enjoy being a student, and this is one way that it disciplines me a little more to continue my own growth, and I just don't ever see myself not being enrolled for at least one course at ILT on a every term basis from here on out even. So
involved in more lifelong education.
Yes, I've been a lifelong learner. I love to read, so like I say, this brings a little more discipline. It also brings collegiality into the picture. It's not just me developing these things, but it's a community of people working through some very important, it's the most important stuff we can possibly learn. It's the notions of faith and the words of our Lord. So I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I'm glad I have the freedom to be able to pursue it. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.